Hey guys, this is Comic Uno and Comic Frontline, and today I'm doing Comic Uno episode 128, and that's show where I review all the comics I read this week in one show, and today I have 20 comics to talk about, so it's a pretty normal week for me. We go worst pick of the week to best pick of the week, and let's get started. So number 20 is, sad to see this so low, but Robin Hood Ongoing issue 18. I wasn't a big fan of this, and I was actually looking forward to this issue because it was Cinderella being introduced, but every single time I read a Cinderella book, I just don't really like her character that much. She's kind of hard to get into. She's very Harley Quinn-ish, but without the humor for me. And they try to do the humor, and it doesn't really work that much for my opinion. And I don't really like the villains in this story that much, and it's very much focusing on the villains and kind of trying to defeat them. And once again, the team is separated, and I think this book is always at its best when you see the team together. And the big thing is that the team has become too big. You have Van Helsing, you have her boyfriend, you have Marion, you have Robyn, you have the detective, you have all of these kind of random people too, and now you have Cinderella. And so it's becoming really big, and it's a hard time for them to all interact with each other. And I guess that was kind of the low part of this issue. So I just couldn't find that much enjoyment. And also I thought the artwork could have been a little bit more detailed. So I was a bit disappointed with this issue. So I gave Robin Hood Ongoing issue 18 2 stars, and now it's number 20. Moving on to number 19, which after I read it, I was like, this is pretty ridiculous. So number 19 is Green Arrow, issue 48, which is a book. You guys probably asking, like, why do you even still pick up this book? It's Green Arrow. I can't drop it because I love the character, and I've dropped it before, and I felt empty not reading it, but at the same time, it's not good. So, I got the coloring, adult coloring book version, because I didn't really like the cover that much, so I was like, alright, let me get this cover version. I like it, because you actually do get the cover and you could color on it, so I thought that was kind of cool. I don't know if I will, but still a cool cover. So with this issue, it's a new arc, and Green Arrow is in this cabin that his family owns, and he's kind of just being a loner, and he has this guy who's been watching the cabin for a while, and he lost his son, so they're trying to deal with that together. And in the end of the issue, Green Arrow becomes a werewolf. That happens in this issue. He becomes a werewolf. Up to that point, the book wasn't good. It wasn't. It wasn't a good book. But it wasn't horrible. Like, I understood, the narration was there. It was totally not a Green Arrow book. But, it was okay narration. And I was like, alright, whatever. It's another, not great Green Arrow book. And then that ending happens. And I'm like, you just made Green Arrow a werewolf. Now, alright, fine, it's a totally different story, and I'm like, I could take that. If he was in character this whole time, it still does not feel like a Green Arrow book. It just kind of feels like this random guy who's in a Green Arrow suit. And that's totally proven here. At least he had his bow and arrows in this issue. It's been like issues since he's even done a bow and arrow trick. And this is a Green Arrow book, so you'd think there would be some archery. But I didn't love this book. And the reason it didn't make worst pick of the week, because again, the narration's not too bad, and the artwork is, not too bad either. It's still not my favorite. I don't really like the design for Oliver, but it's not sloppy artwork. It's pretty unique and good artwork. Now, I really do feel like this should be a totally different book that does not have Oliver's name on it. It could be an interesting indie book that I probably wouldn't pick up, but maybe other people would enjoy it. But now it's getting into this phase where it's like, what can we do with Green Arrow to screw with him? Oh, let's just make him a werewolf. Sure, that makes sense. Yeah, so I did not like that cliffhanger, guys. And it wasn't just because it's something different. It just didn't make sense to the story for me. And I guess, again, it's not Oliver in character, so it's not Oliver dealing with himself being a werewolf, because it's not his personality there. I think it would be a little bit more interesting if that happened. But yeah, Green Arrow issue 48 gets 2 stars. I did not like the ending that much. And that's number 19. Now moving on to number 18, which is Spider-Man Deadpool issue 1, which I gave an honest try. I wanted to try this out, obviously because it's Spider-Man. I try out at least the first issue of any Spider-Man book. And I want to try it out because I like Deadpool in doses. I keep saying that in a lot of my reviews, and it's true. I don't really like reading his ongoing book that much because it's too much Deadpool. But I could take him in a couple of miniseries here and there and, laugh a bit. And I love the Hawkeye vs. Deadpool book. It's the best Deadpool story I've read. And I haven't read, like, every Deadpool story in the world, because, again, I'm not a huge fan of his character, but I really enjoyed that story. So when I pick up Spider-Man and Deadpool, I'm just like, do you really need a Spider-Man and Deadpool book? If you're gonna do an ongoing book with a team, I say go with Hawkeye vs. Deadpool, because they have a lot of great chemistry. My problem with Spider-Man and Deadpool, they have no chemistry. They obviously are very similar characters, they both joke around a lot, and there's an interesting cliffhanger in the end here where we find out that Deadpool, this whole event they've been going through, staging this devil fighting thing, and we find out that Deadpool wants to kill Peter Parker, and obviously doesn't know that Spider-Man's Peter Parker. So, I thought that was an interesting ending, but the rest of the issue, they didn't have great chemistry in my opinion. I didn't really laugh that much. It was very heavy dialogue, I thought. So overall, the artwork was pretty good, except when you actually see people out of costume. Like, I didn't really like how Anna Marie was drawn. Like, I thought her facial expression looked a little weird in that panel, but the art was really good with the superhero parts. That I enjoyed, and that's why it's not lower than it is here. So Spider-Man Deadpool issue 1 gets 2.5 stars. It just wasn't really my thing. We'll see if I get issue 2, but probably not. Alright, so now we are up to number 17, I think. So moving on. And that is Batman and Robin Eternal, issue 14. Right where issue 13 was really well done. I thought it did a good job with Cassandra Cain's story. It kind of goes back to this fillerish stuff. We find out that Scarecrow might be on Dick Grayson's side because of, you know, a past situation, and it doesn't really move the story that much. It's still like, oh, well, what did Batman do with the mother? And you don't really get too many answers. But I will say the best part of this issue was Cassandra and Harper Row, where you see them kind of have this friendship moment, where Harper's like, I don't really care what you did in your past, you know, we're dealing with it. And I thought that was a really cool moment. But other than that, I kind of felt bored with this. Another kind of forgettable issue of Batman and Robin Eternal. And I thought the artwork could have been a little bit better. It's a bit on the, I guess the coloring could have been a little bit better. It's a bit on the darker side with some weird greens in the background. So I think the coloring could have been a bit better. But the story was, you know, like I said, a bit forgettable, which I feel like I've been saying about a lot of these Batman and Robin Eternal issues, probably because it is a weekly series and you're getting it so often. So yeah, issue 14, I give 2.5 stars. Alright, I'm pretty sure we're up to number 16. I want to make sure. Yes, we are on number 16, and that is Uncanny X-Men, issue 1. Now, this is a book that I wasn't totally looking forward to, because I don't really like the roster that much. There's not a character I love in this book, but, I mean, it's Uncanny X-Men. Of course I want to get it. It's the flagship book of X-Men. It should be the best X-Men book, and obviously, if it's this low, it's not. It's mostly an action scene where you see... It's proactive. It's where you have Magneto, Monet, Archangel, Psylocke, and Sabretooth. They're all trying to get this containment pod with these mutants who are scared of the Terrigen Mist, and that's it. And honestly, I didn't mention this in my other review, my in-depth review, but I had to read it a couple of times to understand what the hell, like, their plot was. And I was like, oh, the Terrigen Mist, they're scared. Why? They're in these pods? How? It was kind of confusing. They never really fully explained why they were in these pods, how they became in these pods, who's the true villain. I don't know. So they could explain that part of the story a lot better here. And I didn't mention that in my in-depth review. But yeah, I felt like with this type of book, you need to make the characters interesting. And you need to make them have some sort of chemistry. And they didn't. They didn't have any personalities, which is weird, because a lot of these characters have heavy personalities and are very big, have very big personalities, like Magneto or Sabretooth, or I would say those two definitely have the biggest personalities here. But also there's a lot of fan-favorite characters here, like Psylocke. She's definitely a fan-favorite character. So it's weird just to have them just have very much talking head issue where you don't really see the chemistry. It's just them talking to each other. And there's definitely a difference with talking to each other, just showing, alright, we gotta progress the plot, than having some good character moments. And there were no good character moments here. So Uncanny X-Men, issue 1, I gave 2.5 stars. We'll see if I get issue 2. Hopefully I will, if I have a light week. Alright, so now we are up to number 15, I think. Sorry, I also have a cold, so if you hear me, like, drinking water or coughing, I have a cold. Alright, moving on to number 15 is Star Wars issue 14. And this is the part 5 of Vader Down. This is the book that was actually supposed to come out this week. Darth Vader technically came out this week also, but was supposed to come out next week. Marvel's been really weird with its releases in the past 2 weeks. But I'll mention those books that were technically supposed to come out next week, but came out this week. And also, if you're wondering, like, why Amazing Spider-Man and all those books are not in this review, it was in the last review, because technically it came out last week. So I know, again, a little confusing with that. Moving on, Star Wars, issue 14. I thought this was kind of a slower issue with the issues. Definitely more of an action issue where we get to see, what's his name, Commander Carbon, try to fight Darth Vader, and they're, you know, trying to show who has more power. And then Luke and Han and Leia kind of dealing with their own thing. Han is dealing with the other evil Chewbacca, and Luke is dealing with Darth Vader's minion, and then Leia just wants to kill Darth Vader and doesn't really have the chance to here. And that's mostly the issue, so it's definitely more of a point A to point B issue, and that's the reason it was kind of lower. It just felt, especially if you had 2 issues this week, the other issue was a bit better with the finale of Vader Down, so that was kind of my opinion here. So Star Wars issue 14 gets 3 stars. That's number 15. Moving on to number 14, which is 8th Seal, issue 2, which is a book from IDW, I'm pretty sure, which has been pretty good. The artwork is, you know, pretty plain, but I do like the story. It's about our First Lady having this demon thing in her, and it seems like the people in the White House know about it, or at least some of the people know about it, and she's, like, carving some symbols in her desk, and it's cool because obviously cameras are on her, you know, the public eye is on her, and she's dealing with this monster thing, and I think it's cool. And it's, you know, a lot of times like, oh, you would know, first of all, what is this, the mystery of what is this, and oh, who's gonna find out, is the husband gonna find out? And so yeah, I think it's kind of a cool concept, and that's what I like about it. Artwork could be a little bit better, and this was a bit slower of an issue than issue 1, but still an interesting issue, and I'm definitely going to continue to see where 8th Seal goes. So I gave that 3 stars. Alright, so now we're up to number, what are we up to? We're up to number 13, which is Power Cubed, issue 4. Now this is a book from Dark Horse that I keep saying is not too original, because it's not, but at the same time I feel like they're trying to do that to show, hey, here's all the cliches of comics, and we're just kind of having fun with it. And that's the part I like about it. That's why I did stick around with it, because I like that it's totally cliche, but you're having fun with the cliches. But at the same time, it's totally cliche, so you know everything that's going to happen. But I like this issue. I thought it was a good conclusion. It's to save the damsel in distress, which is his girlfriend, but also has some spunk to her character, so I like that. I think they played with that well. And it's defeating the bad guy who tells his whole entire plan. So it's very much, especially playing with old-time superhero stories. So I gave it 3 stars. Again, it's not the most original thing, and I don't think they hit the nail on the head of playing with the trope and also telling your original story, but it's still fun if you have the extra cash to pay for the series. So Power Cubed issue 4 gets 3 stars. And that's number 13. Moving on to number 12, which is Injustice Gods Among Us, Year 5, Issue 1. Now this is a book that I'm kind of just getting because I've read Injustice for such a long time, and this is finally, or hopefully, the final year of Injustice Gods Among Us. Now it should be, because there's only 5 years between this game, so the game should be the finale of this book. But there's another game coming out, so I don't know about that. There probably will be another series that goes with the next game. Which might be better, because you'll definitely have a continuation of the story. Hopefully more things can happen. But here, that's exactly what I wanted to say. Not a lot happens. It's a lot of the same old, same old. It's Superman, you know, being evil, but not knowing he's evil, and Batman trying to bring a crew together. Except it's different people he's trying to bring together. And it's Superman becoming more evil. And that's the issue. It's villains escaping from jail, which we saw in the annual, which I thought was a bit better in this issue, but we'll see where it goes. The best character interaction was probably between Catwoman and Batman. That was the best part of the issue, but overall pretty forgettable. So Injustice Gods Among Us, Year 5, Issue 1 gets 3 stars. Alright, so what are we up to now? We're up to number 11. And that is Green Lantern issue 48. Now, I've been picking up Green Lantern digitally. I still don't want to commit to getting it physically because I don't love the series, but I think it's going in an interesting direction. And I always say, and really all of us on Frontline have been saying, the best thing for Vendetti's run with Green Lantern is when it's grounded and on Earth. And we're definitely seeing that here. You see a grounded story, especially towards the beginning, of him dealing with his nephew being in the hospital, and then he meets this woman who's thankful that he was able to save the Ferris wheel and everything. And I thought that was the best scene of the issue. The rest of the issue with the sonar stuff, I didn't really care about. That was the part I just didn't care about. But the ending with Parallax was interesting, and that's why I've been continuing to get this book, because it's the connection to the old DC universe, and there might be something there. So overall, I thought it was an okay issue. I gave it 3.5 stars. Definitely better than I've seen Green Lantern, but not as good as that last issue, which I didn't review because I read it late. But I'm going to continue to see where Green Lantern goes if it stays on this grounded level. And also, he should definitely change his design. That's still kind of annoying. So Green Lantern issue 48 gets 3.5 stars. Alright, so we are moving on. We are moving on to number 10, which is the book that technically was supposed to come out next week, and that is Darth Vader issue 15. I thought this is a pretty good conclusion of Vader Down. We see Princess Leia make the decision, am I gonna kill Darth Vader, am I not? She ends up saving her friends in the end. Darth Vader is able to literally crush, what's his name? I keep forgetting his name. I said it in this review. Carbon. I have to always look in the beginning. So he literally crushes Carbon, and I thought that was pretty interesting. So mostly it's a fight, and I mean this whole entire arc is a battle, and I like that, and I thought they did that pretty well. And you still have, I mean, my favorite part of this issue is that Princess Leia punches that girl who's been part of the Darth Vader book, who I, in this arc, have not really enjoyed that much, and I don't really get her purpose that much, but I love that moment that Princess Leia is kind of thinking what we're all thinking, just like punch her, just bring her down. So I enjoyed that. But yeah, it's the team being back together, and Darth Vader still wanting to obviously get Luke Skywalker. And that's the issue. I thought it was pretty good. It wasn't like the best ending in the world, but you know, I thought this event was interesting because it was, for me, it made me, or allowed me to get into the Star Wars books, and it was a good jumping on point. So I'll give Darth Vader issue 15 3.5 stars. And again, that is a book that's technically supposed to come out next week, if it wasn't at your store. Alright, now moving on to number 9, which is then Helsing Vs Dracula issue 4. Glad to see a Pat Chan book a little bit higher here. I'm not a big fan of the Van Helsing character, but I like this issue because it actually described what was going on with Dracula and how Dracula was actually created in this universe, and it was actually connected to Hades and his daughter. So there's a really interesting origin story here, and then by the end, it's just going to be an epic fight between Van Helsing and her crew and Dracula. And the artwork's really well done. There's a lot of detail here compared to what I thought Robin Hood didn't have detail in this issue, or yeah, in this week's issue. But yeah, Van Helsing, I gave 3.5 stars. I thought it was definitely one of the better issues of the Van Helsing miniseries. Alright, I think we're up to number 8. Yes. Number 8 is the Totally Awesome Hulk, issue 2. I like this issue. It wasn't as good as issue 1 because I think this is definitely more of an action, point A to point B issue. Is like, oh, what happens if Cho goes full Hulk? And that is the issue. And also, I thought this issue was a really quick read, and I guess that's the reason I couldn't give it a 4-star book. It's a $3.99 book. It was a very quick read. But I like the interaction between She-Hulk and Miles and Cho. And She-Hulk obviously knowing the Hulk mythology a bit more, we'll say. And what could happen to Cho if he kind of goes overboard. So, also I thought the villain was cool, and she has all these monsters she's collecting, so is she gonna be a threat in the future? We're gonna have to see. But, yeah, overall, it wasn't as good as issue 1, but the artwork was well done, and there's definitely some fun parts here, and I'm still enjoying the characters, and I'm enjoying Cho's sister, too. I think she's a great inclusion in this book. So Totally Awesome Hulk issue 2 gets 3.5 stars. That's number 8. Moving on to number 7, which is A-Force issue 1. Glad to see this higher than what the miniseries was. Now, my biggest problem with the miniseries was that A-Force, the Arcadia side of things, I felt like they didn't fully flesh out. I didn't really care about the town or their sector, we'll call it. And here, it's dealing with the Secret Wars story, so if you love that story, it's still here compared to other books that kind of drop the Secret Wars story. But here, we do get to see Singularity remember everything from Secret Wars, but all the other characters don't. It's very much a setup issue. It didn't blow my mind, but I like how they show Singularity's character. She's a lot of fun in this issue. Liked her dialogue a lot in this issue also, and it's a formation of the team, and seeing that there's a part of Singularity that's evil, and they're gonna have to defeat it. And again, it's not like the most original story, but I like Singularity's character, and that's what's important with these first type issues, like I was saying with Uncanny X-Men, and you see the chemistry and the personalities through everybody, and the artwork's pretty good too, especially the close-ups. When it's zoomed out, there could be a little bit more detail, but overall, I do like the artwork. So A-Force issue 1 gets 3.5 stars. Moving on to number 6, which is a book that has totally surprised me and I'm really enjoying, and that is Weirdworld issue 2. And the reason I like this book is not really for the weird world, but it's because of Becca. I think she's a really cool character. And you see her trying to deal with this world, and I love her narration where she's like this woman who's the big kind of Xena warrior princess woman. And it's like, this woman thinks I'm a wizard, or wizard hunter, and I'm not. I don't even know what a wizard looks like. And it's this whole issue, she's training to be a wizard hunter, and, the woman thinks that she is a wizard hunter, and it's hilarious, like, I'm not a wizard hunter. And then they actually have to deal with, I think it was like a big monster. And Becca actually does have the confidence to drive this car, where she doesn't even have a driver's license, into the monster. And now this cat-type creature is wants to bring Becca back home, and also tells the other warrior woman that they might have found a place where all the wizards are confined in, and like a wizard hideout. So she wants to help this cat creature, which might, bring them into some problems, which I'm sure will happen. But yeah, I like this issue a lot, especially Becca. I mean, she makes the book, and she's a great new character, and I'm really curious to see what her journey will be like, and how she will change once she gets used to the weird world. So I liked it. I thought this was a very solid issue. I did like issue 1 a little bit better, but this is still a good continuation, and I'm totally addicted to Weirdworld, and I can't wait to see where it goes. So Weirdworld issue 2 gets 4 stars, very close to top 5, but it was number 6. So let's see what is on the top 5. Number 5 is a surprise book for me. I didn't expect to like it so much, and that was Detective Comics issue 48. Now, this is a book I haven't been enjoying as much with the last arc, but I feel like this is one of the best Commissioner Gordon stories in a really long time, or at least Commissioner Gordon Batman stories, because when I first heard Commissioner Gordon was going to be Batman, I was excited about it. I thought it'd be something different, and it'd be cool to see him do some detective stuff. And then you had, like, Bunny Batman. It had nothing to do with being a detective. And especially in the main Batman book, it's so much focusing on Bruce Wayne or Bloom that you really don't get to see Commissioner Gordon be Batman. And here, it's him being Batman without the bunny suit. And it's him being a detective. And even though the mystery is not the best, it's, whatever. It's kind of this generic Batman mystery. I like that it felt like a classic modern Batman story. Even the artwork. And, I mean, my favorite scene being Batgirl and Batman talking to each other. So Commissioner Gordon's like, yeah, I'm just going to order pizza. And Batgirl's, yeah, I'm just going to watch a movie. And they're both being Batman and Batgirl. One thing I hope is dealt with in 2016 before Commissioner Gordon's probably not going to be Batman for much longer. I would really like to see Commissioner Gordon have that final hoo-ha with, or like hurrah with Batgirl and have a cool adventure with her, and finally for Batgirl to tell her father that she is Batgirl. So hopefully that will happen. We'll find out. But I like this story. That was a really solid book, and this is what I wanted with the Commissioner Gordon story, and I'll give it 4 stars. So that is number 5. Now we're moving on to number 4, which is our indie pick of the week, or our indie pick of the year on Comic Frontline for our award show, and that was Paper Girls, issue 4. I love this book. I think it's great because, I mean, it's continuously, you don't know what's going on, but it's a mystery where it's like you don't know what's going on, but it's not that you're totally uninterested because you don't know what's going on. It's like, you give me just enough to have that hook. And it's such a great character-driven book, too, and that's why I gave this to number 4, because KJ gets a lot of character development here. You see how spunky she is. She's the one holding the gun. And they meet up with these teenagers who are helping them defeat this big monster. And then one of our characters actually gets caught by this monster. I think I want to say her name is, it's Tiff. Tiff gets caught by the monster. And she realizes that she's wasted her life playing video games. And it's an old style, like, Pong type video game. And I love that. And it's like 2 pages of her just kind of wasting her life. And she's like, I wasted my life playing a video game. Why didn't I stop? And I thought that was really cool. And yeah, and you see KJ is the one who actually saves her. So you see she's the gutsy one. And we see Max saying, like, why are you not using the gun? He's like, I don't have any bullets. I just, like, it's kind of just for show. So now the teenagers are trying to help their friend, you know, our main character, and they're like, all right, they're going to help her. And they don't. They totally kidnap her. And they're like, oh my god, we trusted them. What do we do now? And now they're all trapped by the other scientist people, or whoever they are. We don't even know who they are. And I like this book so much, because again, it's really unique. The world is really unique, and that's Brian K. Vaughan for you, who creates really awesome worlds and original worlds. But also there's some great characters, and I think, again, KJ was really shined in this issue, which was great, and we've really seen every character shine a lot. Even Tiff shined a lot in this issue, too. Also, you see different mind frames of, like, the 80s. You see how there's a different mind frame for gay people. And you see that with the teenagers who, you know, he mentions his boyfriend, and Max, like, has a different reaction than if you're reading a book that's set in 2015. So, and also the Pong stuff. Like, you just see, like, how society is very different in the 1980s. So, I really enjoyed that, and I like the 80s, I guess, setting. I don't know why I couldn't think of that word. The setting of the 80s, and it's a really great book. Artwork's great, really unique original book, and I'm excited to see where it goes. So Paper Girls issue 4 gets 4 stars, and that is number 4. There's a lot of 4 going on there. Alright, so we're moving on to number 3, which is Archie issue 5. This book, I mean, this was my favorite book of 2015, and it might be my favorite 2016. We'll find out. But I love this book, and I will say this was a book that I felt it wasn't as good as issue 1 through 4, but still a great book, obviously. And here we learn a little bit more about Reggie, and you know how he's the arch nemesis of Riverdale. And it's Betty. I don't know why I said Betsy. It's Betty and Jughead trying to show Veronica's true side, her evil side, to Archie, and Archie not believing it, and then Betty kind of calls off the thing she was going to do with Reggie, and she sees that Veronica is not the worst person. She always sees the good in everybody, and she's trying to, and Archie actually has this kind of phase in his life that he doesn't really know what to do with his friends now that he has this new romantic interest who doesn't really fit well with his friends, so, which I feel like is a really real situation, and that's what I've loved about Archie in general, is how real the situations they've done here, especially with friendship and the romances, and I really enjoyed that. And going into the artwork, which I want to mention too, is I like how Fish really shows, or really it has similar artwork style here to Fiona Staples. I will say the lines are a bit darker, and I guess the art's a bit darker, but I really like the artwork, and I'm glad it's kind of similar to Fiona Staples' work. But yeah, it's a really good book, and I'm definitely interested to see where Betty and Jughead and Archie's friendship will go, and honestly Veronica and Betty's friendship, because we haven't really seen that since issue 3. I think it was issue 3. So yeah, great book, 4 stars, and that's number 3. Alright, so now we're moving on to number 2, which is Invincible Iron Man issue 5. I like this book a lot because we get to see finally Mary Jane partake in the story a bit more, and it's Doctor Doom and Iron Man and Mary Jane trying to fight Madame Mask. Now, I will say the negative part of this issue is that I felt like the fight happened really quickly, even though it took the whole issue. And the Madame Mask story kind of abruptly ended. I expected a little bit more from that because there was so much build-up throughout this arc. But it was cool that Mary Jane, she definitely took part in the fight, and she is Mary Jane. You know, she's not gonna make anyone destroy her club, and she used the microphone stand to hit Madame Mask and take her and the mask falls off, and actually helps defeat Madame Mask because of that. So after these events, we see that Tony is like, hey, you want a job? And she's like, all right, fine. And I like the situation where Tony's like, I know you're related to superheroes somehow. I don't know how, but I don't need to really find out either. You have a job. And I definitely like that. I'm excited to see how Mary Jane takes a part in this series, and I thought she was pretty well done here. I'm not saying it's the best Mary Jane book in the world, but I think it's a really good start, and I thought this was a good point A to point B book, and a lot of fun. So Invincible Iron Man issue 5 gets 4 stars with gorgeous artwork. I love the art, which I showed that page already. I want to show a different page. Really great artwork here. Alright, so that's number 2. Moving on to number 1, which is Spider-Gwen issue 4. I think this is the best Spider-Gwen book I've read since Edge of Spider-Verse, I would say. Because we're finally dealing with the Green Goblin. I mean, this has only been an issue that this has been revealed, but we're dealing with Harry Osborn and Gwen. And we see a fight between Spider-Woman and Green Goblin. And Spider-Woman and, Gwen trying to deal with her in her mind. How do I defeat Harry? Like, do I rip off my mask and say, hey, I'm Gwen? Is that even going to do anything? But you're also seeing how Harry has changed. And a really good part of that is in the flashback, where we see that he was this rich kid, but also you see how knit that friendship was, how tight that friendship was between Peter and Harry and Gwen. But you see their different personalities very much in that story. More Harry and Peter in that flashback. But I love the artwork, and I just really like the interior narration, where Gwen is really having a hard time to figure out how to deal with this situation, and see how Harry has changed. She's having a difficult time seeing Harry change throughout these years, but she's also changed. But she doesn't want to see her friend like this, and she sees this event being exactly like the event where Peter died, and she doesn't want that. And then she's like starts blaming herself a bit. It's like, no, it was my fault, but at the same time, I couldn't have done anything. I did my best, but she didn't trust her powers, and now she has to trust her abilities, and she has this responsibility that's really just overweighing her, and I think they did a great job with the narration describing that. And then in the end, you have a great secret identity reveal, where when Harry takes the lizard potion, or the new lizard potion, which is definitely the Green Goblin potion, it is revealed to him that Gwen is Spider-Woman. So that just makes you so excited to pick up the next issue. Now, I did not give this 5 stars because I will say my slight negative towards the issue was in the beginning I felt like the narration was a little bit too melodramatic, and there were some forced jokes here and there, but overall it was a really great book, and I still laughed with a lot of the theme song stuff of Golden Girls and Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, especially because you also think, hey, Gwen is a musician, and I like that they're able to really stick that in every issue, and that's an aspect I really like about Gwen. But it was just a great issue, and I think it did a great job at reflecting what happened with her and Peter, and really seeing the same thing happen with her and Harry. It's really making a cool spin on the Green Goblin mythology in Gwen's world. So that was definitely my pick of the week by far. So Spider-Gwen issue 4 gets 4.5 stars. Let me know in the comments below what was your worst pick of the week and best pick of the week and everything in between. And this is Comic Uno in Comic Frontline. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to like my Facebook page. Also, description below there is links for my comic book Like Father Like Daughter, and don't forget to like the Facebook page of Like Father Like Daughter. I'll see you guys later. Bye.